Good morning, everybody. All right, today we're going to talk about 3-7. We're going to do part 1 and part 2 today together. And we're talking about absolute value equations and inequalities. The good news, it's pretty much all the same procedures for solving equations and inequalities. And there's just one thing different, okay? We got to split it up into a positive and a negative side. So it's a very simple, as long as you know how to solve equations and remember inequality rules. Remember that the only difference between an inequality and an equation as far as solving is concerned is whenever you multiply or divide by a negative, you flip the inequality sign. Okay? Now, okay, so the absolute value, guys, the absolute value we've already talked about when we talked about integers, and it is the distance from 0, which is represented with the symbol blam right there. That's the symbol of absolute value. Okay, it's two straight lines. Solving absolute value equations is very easy, but you must remember that an absolute value has a positive and a negative side. Okay, guys, that's the really important part, that you remember that there's a positive and a negative side. Sorry about that interruption. Let's try this one more time. So the absolute value has a positive and a negative side. Okay, for example, if the absolute value of x equals 3, I want to find what the possible values of x would be. Well, the possible values of x are going to be positive 3 and negative 3. Why? Well, let's investigate this. If the distance from 0 represents the absolute value, and I'm saying that whatever this value of x is, I have a distance of 3, then let's think about this. Could the value have been negative 3? Yes, it is, because how far away from 0 is negative 3? 1, 2, 3 away. It doesn't absolute value describe the distance from 0? So what's the absolute value of negative 3? 3, it works. How about positive 3? How far away from 0 is positive 3? It's 1, 2, 3 units from 0. So both negative 3 and positive 3 have the same distance from 0. So therefore, absolute values have two sides. A positive side and a negative side. Does that make sense? Well, this should be common knowledge, actually, because we already talked about this when we learned about integers. If you don't remember it, then hopefully this will be a nice recapture of the last lesson that we did. So, how does this work? How do we put this into play, Mr. Morrow? Well, let's talk about it. Knowing that absolute values have two sides makes it much easier to solve absolute value equations and inequalities. Because once you know that there's two sides, you split it to the positive and negative side, it's easy to set this up. So let me show you the procedures. What are the solutions of absolute value of x plus 2 equals 9? Now, please read down here. Graph and check your solutions. You have to check your solutions because sometimes you will solve for a value that does not work when evaluated. So let's say you have x equals 5. When you go ahead and plug that back in, that's called evaluating. Sometimes it will not work. These solutions are called extraneous. And we'll go over that as we continue the lesson. Those are called extraneous solutions. Now, as far as the procedure goes, we have here absolute value of x plus 2 equals 9. Procedures. Step 1, isolate the absolute value. How do we get that absolute value alone in this particular case? Sir, that's exactly, absolutely, 100% accurate. You're going to subtract 2 to both sides. So that's step 1. What am I going to be left with after I subtract 2 to both sides? No, x is equal to 7 is wrong. There is no x there. Absolute value of x is going to be equal to 7. I hate to be a pain in the butt, but you got to be careful with that. Yes, sir. No, I can't scroll up because that's why I have a video, so that if you guys aren't fast enough, you can watch it. That's why I have a video. Okay, now, The absolute value of x does equal 7. So I'm going to split it up, guys. Look at what I did with these arrows. Please pay attention to this. I'm going to split this up into what I call the positive side and the negative side. So I'm going to split this down the middle. And I'm going to bring this guy over here to the positive side. The positive side I like to call the mirror image. It's a mirror image because nothing changes except I take the variable out of the absolute value sign. So I have x equals 7. Done. Then I have my negative side, guys. Now, for my negative side, please pay attention to what's in red here. You're going to multiply the non-absolute value side by a -1. Please note that if you are working with inequalities, you must flip the inequality sign of the negative side since you multiplied by a negative. So let's examine this. What's the non-absolute value side here? The 7. So what am I going to multiply by -1? 7. So that's how I got x equals -7. So I'm going to split up the equation. Once the absolute value is alone, I'm going to split it up into my positive side, and I'm going to split it up into my negative side. And the negative side, again, I arrive to that value by multiplying the non-absolute value side by -1. Does that make sense, gentlemen? Sir? No, this was what, remember, I subtracted 2 to both sides? He asked what those 2's meant. That was just step 1. Isolate the variable. Thank you, sir. Sir? The absolute value of 2 is 2. So that wouldn't really make much sense. You need a variable. No, we're going to go through more examples. Let's walk before we run, though, guys. Okay? In fact, let's go ahead. Let's start jogging. Check it out. Starting from 100 feet away, your friend skates towards you and then passes by you. She skates at a constant speed of 20 feet per second. Her distance d from you in feet after t seconds is given by the equation d equals absolute value of 100 minus 20t. I want to know what times is she 40 feet from you. So what is the distance? What is d? What is the distance? What is d? What is the distance? What is d? Guys, come on, man. I see now why you guys do not do very well in word problems. You do not read. Didn't it just tell you that her distance d from you in feet after t seconds is given by d equals 100, absolute value of 100 minus 20t. At what times is she 40 feet from you? What would 40 feet be, guys? A distance or the number of petals on a flower? It would be the distance, right? Come on, guys. Focus. Pay attention, please. So 40 equals absolute value of 100 minus 20t. Now what do I do? Wrong. Whoever said subtract 100 to both sides is wrong. At this point, you must split your equation into your positive mirror image and your negative side. The mirror image is going to be 100 minus 20t equals 40. Your negative side, you multiply -1 to the non-absolute value side. So 100 minus 20t equals -40. Guys, we just went over this, and the first thing you told me was subtract 100 to both sides. Do you see that you have to split it up into a positive mirror image side and a negative side where you're multiplying the non-absolute value side by a -1? Sir? No. I'm multiplying the non-absolute value side. Son, am I multiplying this by a -1 or this by a -1? The 40. So if I'm multiplying the 40 by a -1, that would make it -40. Why on earth would that change this value? Okay, but you said you thought it would be acting like parentheses. I can understand that, but didn't I specifically say in the rules, multiply the non-absolute value side by negative? So what is the non-absolute value side here? The 40. So what am I going to multiply by -1? The 40, and only the 40. Do you understand that, sir? Thank you for your honesty, sir. Now it's easy. Subtract 100. -20t equals -60. Divide by -20. Divide by -20. T equals 3. Here, subtract 100 to both sides. -20t equals -140. Divide by -20. And t is equal to 7. Now, we got to check it. Let's check when t is 3. What's 20 times 3? 60, right? What's 100 minus 60? What's the absolute value of 40? The absolute value of 40 is -40? Is that what somebody told me? Absolute value can never be negative. It's a distance from 0. You can never have a negative distance. So what is the absolute value of -40 again? Or of 40? So 40. It works. You made the same mistake again, son. Now, let's plug it in when t is 7. What's 20 times 7? 140. What's 100 minus 140? What's the absolute value of -40? Does 40 equal 40? So it works. Does that make sense, gentlemen? Guys? All right. Now, let's continue. Let's do this bad boy right here. Okay. Is the absolute value? Yes, sir. Is the absolute value alone? They can't hear you on the video, so is the absolute value alone? Yes, okay. So go, tell me what to do and I'll repeat it. Okay, he said you have to split this up into a positive mirror image side and a negative side where you multiply a -1 to the non-absolute value side. So what does the mirror image give me, my brother? Okay, now you're hurting me. Now you just killed me. The mirror image here is 3x minus 1 equals 8. I don't know where you got multiply 8 by. No, but that's on the negative side. You guys got to follow directions. I think that's a big problem too. You want to jumble everything into one big answer. Sometimes you have to take steps, gentlemen. Sometimes you have to take your time. Sometimes you have to follow directions. So like I said, the mirror image here is 3x minus 1 equals 8, period. The negative side, you're going to multiply the non-absolute value side by -1. So this will be 3x minus 1 equals -8. Do you see the difference, sir? Thank you. Now what do I do, my man? Yeah, you add 1 to both sides. Divide by 3. X is 3, you mean, but thank you. Add 1. 3x equals -7, correct, sir. Divide by 3, correct, sir. -2 1/3, good job. Okay, now, does that make sense, guys? Now, let's check it. It's just because they have fractions doesn't mean anything. You can still check it. What's 3 times 3? -1. What's the absolute value of 8? It works. Now, I won't make you do this in your head. But you got 3 times -2 1/3, which is really -7/3, right? -1 inside of absolute value. What's 3 times -7/3? -21 over 3, but that's -7. What's -7 minus 1? -8. What's the absolute value of -8? It works. Does that make sense? Yes, sir. No, it's not always going to work. That's why we test it. If it doesn't work, for example, let's just say that here, instead of negative 2 1/3, you got x equals 5. Let's just say. Let's just pretend. This is not the real answer out there in the video world. Not the real answer. Let's just pretend. Let's plug it in. What's 3 times 5? Minus 1. Is the absolute value of 14 equal to 8? Then for this one, and this one only, you would say extraneous solution. Because it is a solution, but it just doesn't work. But that's when it doesn't work. Is it always going to work? No. Is it mostly going to work for our level right now? Yes. But I want to teach you what extraneous is in case you ever see it, sir. Thank you, my brother. Sir. What do you mean you have to give 2 answers? Yes, there are 2 answers to this. An absolute value has 2 answers. Yes, you give me one side, it's completely wrong. Sir. You always have to check both of them for extraneous solutions, no matter what. Yes, you have to check both answers. Yes, sir. To make sure they work. Yes. Oh, you could do it in your head if it's fairly easy. Okay. I'm fair. Now, how about this? Is the absolute value alone? No. So I'm going to treat this like a 2-step equation. What do I undo first in a 2-step equation? Addition and subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 12 to both sides. I've got 3 times 2x plus 9 is equal to negative 2 divided by 3. So I got 2x plus 9 is equal to negative 2/3. Does anyone see a problem with this? Yes. No, what do you mean, why would I add the 12? I had to subtract the 12 to get the absolute value alone. No, that's not at all the problem here. Thank you. Guys, can the absolute value of distance ever equal a negative number? No. So whenever you see that an absolute value, when it's by itself, after you've solved it all, and when it's all by itself, if it equals a negative, stop working immediately. No solution. Okay? Now look, it's not good enough to say no solution in this one. It's not. Because is the absolute value alone yet? No. You cannot determine that until it's alone. So you add 5 to both sides. Absolute value of 3x minus 6 equals negative 2. Can an absolute value equal a negative? So that is no solution. So whenever an absolute value is equal to a negative, it's no solution. But talking about inequalities, if an absolute value is greater than a negative, continue forward with that problem. If the absolute value is less than a negative, no solution. If an absolute value is less than or equal to a negative, no solution. So again, if an absolute value is equal to a negative, no solution. If an absolute value is less than a negative, no solution. If an absolute value is less than or equal to a negative, no solution. If an absolute value is greater or greater than a negative, keep going. But what about if an absolute value is greater than or equal to a negative? No solution. Sir? What do you mean, how come I didn't distribute? Distribute what? Why would I want to distribute the 3 when I want to get the absolute value alone? 3 is being multiplied to this absolute value. So I want to get it alone. So I divide it by 3 to both sides. You cannot distribute because it's not a parentheses, it's an absolute value. So again, I want to get the absolute value alone, not complicate it more. Okay, now, inequalities. Same exact procedure. In this case, the absolute value is alone. So I go to my positive side and my negative side. Positive, mirror image. N minus 1 is less than or equal to 2. Negative side. N minus 1 is greater than or equal to negative 2. Why did I flip the inequality there? Because I multiply by a negative 1. Very good. Very good. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Now it's easy. Add 1. N is less than or equal to 3. Add 1. N is greater than or equal to negative 1. Now I can graph this. 3, negative 1. N is greater than or equal to negative 1. So I shade to the right. N is less than or equal to 3. Solid circle, shaded to the left. I can test these points too. 0 works for both of these, doesn't it? What's 0 minus 1? What's 0 minus 1? Negative 1. Not 1, negative 1. What's the absolute value of negative 1? Is 1 less than or equal to 2? So it works. Next. I got my absolute value alone, so I'm going to split up into my positive and my negative side. Positive side, mirror image. 2x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 5. Negative side, you multiply the non-absolute value side by a negative. So that becomes less than or equal to negative 5. Excuse me, subtract 4 to both sides. 2x is greater than or equal to 1/2. Come on, man. It's greater than or equal to 1. Divide by 2. X is greater than or equal to 1/2. Here, subtract 4 to both sides. 2x is less than or equal to negative 9. Divide by 2. X is less than or equal to negative 4.5. So I can graph this. 1, 2, 3. I didn't need to go that far. And this is between negative 4 and negative 5. Here's my half mark. So negative 4.5. I went up to 3 because I don't know why, sir. I'm sorry. I apologize. Less than or equal to negative 4.5. Solid circle to the left. And it's greater than 1/2. Greater than or equal to 1/2. Solid circle to the right. Sir. It's 1/2. You're absolutely right. Thank you, son. Good catch. Maybe I should practice what I preach and pay attention. I apologize, sir. My bad completely. No excuses. Closed circle, shaded to the right. Once again, I'm sorry and thank you. Sir. Yes, sir, my brother. Unless I specifically just tell me what are the solutions, you know. I'll tell you to graph, but yes. Yes. Okay, now. All right. The part that everyone loves. Luckily, Mr. Morrow came up with a formula. I invented this. It works every single time. A company makes boxes of crackers that should weigh 213 grams. A quality control inspector randomly selects boxes to weigh. Any box varies from the weight by more than 5 grams, it's sent back. So do you know what varies means? It changes, right? If it's above by 5 or if it's below by 5, okay, I got to send it back. What is the range allowable for what is the range allowable weights for a box of crackers? So please always set up absolute value word problems using this formula. The formula is X minus the desired goal, or the actual goal, or what they want. What is the desired goal here? What should it weigh always? So you put 213 here. You always put a less than or equal to, and then the change. The change, or what's called variance. What's the variance here? What's the change here? 5. The goal is 213, I already said. Okay? Desired goal, yes. So now, what, sir? Yes, sir. No, you're not supposed to add anything. At this point, now you split it up. Positive, x minus 213 is less than or equal to 5. Negative side, x minus 213 is, greater than or equal to. Guys, please do not leave. Greater than or equal to negative 5. Add 213 to both sides. X is less than or equal to 218. Add 213 to both sides. X is greater than or equal to 208. So this box, okay, for them to keep the box and not send it back, can be greater than or equal to 208 or less than or equal to 218. Don't forget this formula. X minus the goal, or what it should be, less than or equal to the variance or the change. May God bless you. Have a great day and a great weekend. Bye-bye.